If you've been keeping up with the latest content on the channel, you would have known that I bought a camcorder. This one. The Sony FDR AX43 Handycam 4K camcorder. This thing is an absolute beast when it comes to filming trains. This thing has 30 times zoom and 4K capabilities. I don't use the 4K because it caps the FPS to 30, so I use the 1080p 60 FPS option instead. This thing is amazing. Massive thanks to the YouTuber Short Attention Span Railfan, who told me about this camcorder and gave me all the information I needed to make an educated purchase of it. New camcorder aside, January didn't start out on the greatest note. January 2nd, CN3023, the ENJE Heritage Unit, was on the CSX line and was going to come through Walkerton, so we booked it down there. On the way, we got blocked by this CSX train with a CM44 DPU. Once we actually arrived at the railfanning spot in Walkerton, we turned on the car's headlights with the idea that it would illuminate 3023. It kind of worked. We forgot to turn the brights on. That probably would have helped. Anyways, the train showed up like immediately after we got there, so I didn't even have time to get into the car before the headlights started rounding the curve. I didn't know my camcorder could handle the tiny bit of snow that was falling because I heard that it wasn't waterproof. It probably could have handled that tiny bit of snow in retrospect. Anyways, 3023 and its CN SD75M headed around the corner and came right by us. The shot has been incredibly brightened in post-production to make it look better, and it still doesn't, honestly. Here you can see what the shot looks like without any of that brightening. Yeah, the cars are barely visible. The next day I was surprised by this solo BNSF Gevo leading an auto rack, but we were going over a bridge heading home from our trip to South Bend. On January 5th, we headed out to the depot just to see what we could, and we got two pretty decent trains. Yeah, here's a demonstration of the zoom lens on my camcorder. Absolutely just remarkable. Anyways, the first train was a Norfolk Southern manifest with a Gevo leading, Ace trailing second, and a bunch of Dash 9s in tow behind them. What's going to happen to the Dash 9s? I don't know. I would say that they're probably going for rebuild, but why they would be sending them to Chicago, I have absolutely no idea. Most of them go down to Chattanooga to Butts Yards, then go on to the BNSF to go down to Fort Worth for rebuilding, or they stay out in Pennsylvania to go to GE's Erie plant, or sometimes Altoona Works. Why are they here on the Chicago line? I don't know. Oh, and if you haven't noticed yet, I forgot to turn on the microphone for these shots. Hey, the sound's back, and it's screeching horribly. Yeah, the microphone that came with the camcorder sucks. I need to invest in a new one. Anyways, the second and final train for this trip was CPKC 231, with a KCS Gevo leading, Thundercab Ace trailing second, CP Gevo behind that, and a CPAC 44 in last. I went out for this one because it's really rare to see more than two engines on 231. And later that same day, this South Shore local came by with two regularly painted South Shore Jeeps. However, they were traveling Longhood Forward, which is a little interesting, and they were both veterans units. On January 12th, Norfolk Southern 1800, aka Mr. Scam, who I call that because I've missed the thing like 100 times at this point? I don't even know if that's an exaggeration. Anyways, it was snowing and pretty early in the morning on this day, so it wasn't ideal to catch 1800, but screw it, I was going out for it anyway. The first train that showed up was, the Amtrak. I'm not actually sure if this is a Lakeshore Limited or the Floridian. Anyways, it had a Phase 7 Charger leading and a Phase 7 P42 trailing second. The snow was coming down really heavy while this one was passing. The next train was a random Norfolk Southern manifest with an ace leading and an AC-44 trailing. Nothing too special on this lash up, I guess it's nice to see an ace leader again, but this one did kick up quite a bit of snow as it approached. Soon after that train passed, my friend's Southwest Michigan Railfan arrived, and soon after he did, so did 1800, with an ace leading and 1800 trailing second. This was really nice to see. My shot isn't the greatest, but hey, I'll take it. 1800, I swear I'll be back to catch you again, hopefully leading next time. Then, the next day, on January 13th, my dad was coming home from Michigan City and managed to catch this duo of South Shore Jeeps on a local. On January 17th, CP 9618, aka Carousel Train, came through the depot 1 minute before I arrived. This train right here literally met with 9618. Oof. I didn't know that I had missed it, and so I stuck around trying to catch it. This train did have a DPU in the form of a BNSF Ace, which was kind of cool. And yeah, I forgot to turn the microphone on for this train. And then I forgot to turn the microphone on again for the next train. We moved over to the other side of the depot for better lighting. This train was a Norfolk Southern intermodal with a Norfolk Southern GEVO leading and an ace trailing. And I finally remembered to turn the microphone on for the third train, which was a Norfolk Southern intermodal with a GEVO leading and C6M trailing second. Oh boy. At least the C6M was a relatively fresh one, but I don't know, this train was still boring. Yeah, this trip sucked. Whatever. The next day, on January 18th, we headed down to Walkerton again for CSX 1834, the Georgia Railroad Heritage Unit. This was actually its first time on this line, so it was extra historically relevant, and I needed to catch it. Anyways, the first train that we saw was a coal train. Since coal trains are kind of rare, and the 1834 was on one, we assumed this had to be it. It wasn't. It did have a YN2 AC44 leading and a YN3 AC44 trailing second, though. That was kind of nice. When I saw the next train, I concluded this had to be 1834. I mean, there was a YN3 GEVO leading, and it was a coal train. It wasn't 1834. Again. Because CSX has so many trains full of electric car fuel coming down the line today. This was pretty crazy. Anyways, as I said, the leader was a GEVO, and trailing second was an AC44. Oh look, something other than a westbound coal train. An eastbound intermodal. The power was 2 GEVOs, so nothing interesting, but it did have a, we'll say a questionable boxcar trailing behind the 2 locomotives. As the blue hour started to set in, we thought we were doomed for 1834. But of course, we got lucky. And just before it started to turn fully dark, 1834 finally came through, with the expected standard GEVO leading and the lovely HU trailing second. On January 21st, my mom was stopped by a train while coming home from Dollar General. It was a CN manifest with a CN GEVO leading and nice X-City rail as a DPU. For some reason, it had a lot of Bessemer and Lake Erie rolling stock. I'm not sure why. On January 26th, we're back at the depot to catch a CPKC Autorack train with 2 KCS GEVOs. Doesn't seem rare, except the trailing one was a Tier 4 GEVO, which KCS has a grand total of 25 of. So, yeah, that's rare. The first train we got while waiting for the double KCS GEVOs was a BNSF transfer, and oh boy. Leading it was a GEVO. Trailing second was a BNSF AC44, which is actually rare. Behind that was another BNSF GEVO. Behind that was a BNSF Ace. And finally, last was an H1-9 with one of the doors on the front unpainted for some reason. Yeah, this was pretty cool. If you look closely at the shot, you can see I screwed it up by having the microphone pop into the shot in the top right corner. Oof. Oh. Hello, KCS Gevos. If you were paying attention, you noticed that the microphone popped into the shot again. And as a bonus, I decided to stop at the Madison Street crossing for another train. I forgot to start the recording until like a second before the train arrived, so that was cool. It was 2 AC-44, so I don't even care. For the final major trip of the month, we're down in Walkerton again. Because Union Pacific 1111, the powered by our slaves, I mean people, unit, was coming through. You have no idea how rare Union Pacific special units are anywhere east of Chicago, so I absolutely had to catch this unit. Unfortunately, no one was available to take me, except my grandpa, who came in and saved everything at the last minute. Amazing props to him. We had a great time. Anyways, first train was an eastbound CSX intermodal with a Gevo leading and a Mack trailing second. Nice. This engine is engine 4525, which I actually saw in Galesburg last year, so that's a little fun. Oh, look, some deer. Why are they here? I don't know. Maybe I should ask them. Wait a minute, they're deer. Anyways, yeah, the next train was a westbound, and yep, it's exactly the westbound I was looking for. CSX Intermodal I-191 with a Union Pacific AC-44, not a rebuilt one, which is nice, leading, and of course, UP 1111 trailing second. Amazing. I am so glad this happened during the blue hour, which isn't something I normally say, because the sunlight was majorly against the nose of 1111 right before this, so I got pretty lucky. Now, we would have left after that, but as you can see here, another train came up and met with 1111 in the distance. The train was a CSX auto rack with a single AC-44 leading, number 156. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Funny part is, right before this train arrived, I said, man, this train's probably going to be a Gevo, but you know what? I'm going to be hopeful and say maybe it'll be an unrebuilt AC-44. And it was an unrebuilt AC-44. That was the final proper train we got in January, but we did get 2 South Shore locals following that. One had a normal South Shore Jeep leading and an FURX leaser trailing second, and the other had a South Shore regular Jeep leading and the semi-quincentennial unit 2006 trailing second, which was kind of nice, I guess. Anyways, this month was really experimental for me getting my new camcorder, so I'm hoping that next month, February, is going to be a lot better in terms of cinematography and how the shots are laid out, and maybe I'll remember to turn on the microphone for the majority of shots. I don't know. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and catch 'em while you can.